McAllister still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great one by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagan. Now McGrillen, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sybil scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Hello and welcome once again to Falkirk Daft, the unofficial podcast dedicated to everything to do with the Bairns as we look back at what was a hell of a weekend in the big game against them, as well as looking ahead to a Challenge Cup match against Thistle on Friday. However, it would not be Falkirk Daft without the ginger god of pod himself. Na 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 na. Rossi Wayne, Rossi Wayne. I don't know why that song's in my head. I don't know why.
I've no idea. There's been no songs over the weekend that's even remotely close.
Oh, I heard some bad songs at the weekend.
There's a few good ones.
Oh, there's a couple of good ones. How you doing, Ross? You alright?
Good, mate, good. It was Sunday on Saturday. It was good. It was good to be out through there. Bairns played well, which I know we're going to get into anyway, but I thought it was a good day overall. It's just a shame it didn't become a really good points, because I think it did.
Yeah, what time did you stay in the pub till?
It wasn't that late, no, because obviously it was an early start, wasn't it? So it was back at 10 in the morning. It wasn't too late, maybe 8:30 or something like that. It was sensible. So
yeah, decent. Can you believe how busy that Elizabethan was? Oh, that's the busiest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, likewise, and I've been in there loads for years for Bairns games. That is definitely the busiest it's ever been. And literally as soon as we walked in at 5 to 12 or something like that, the place was rammed. So It was a great atmosphere though. I thought it was brilliant on Saturday, from start to finish.
No, it was absolutely fantastic, apart from me spending about half an hour trying to get to the bar when we first get in, because I drew the short straw to get the first round, and it was like, geez, it was an absolute nightmare. Well, the good thing is our driver, the bus driver, was able to get past the Roman bar buses on the Queen's Ferry crossing so we could get to the bar before they got there.
He did well. Gav won't be happy, who we know well, but he managed to do well getting past those couple of buses anyway.
I know, listen, we're going to get into the game itself in just in a bit. And before we get into the podcast, I've got to say a big thanks to our first sponsors on Falkirk Daft, Ross, Forth Valley Dental Laboratory. So thank you very much. It's Stewart Arbuckle. The Arbuckles, big supporters of Falkirk, put loads into the club and big advocates for the Falkirk Supporters Society as well. And Stewart's jumped on board with Forth Valley Dental Laboratory. They've been in business for over 30 years and they strive to provide the highest quality in dental technology to dentists across Scotland. They offer a full service dental laboratory covering all aspects of both private and NHS dental lab work. Based in Falkirk, obviously, and they provide free daily collection and delivery service across mainland Scotland, and they also do a postal service UK-wide as well. All our technicians fully qualified and registered members of the General Dental Council, and the lab is fully registered with the MHRA. So if you are in the dental industry, you want to get involved with Forth Valley Dental Laboratory, easy for me to say. Their services include chrome and acrylic denture work, crown and bridge implants, sports and mouth guards, Valplast flexidental fixtures, anti-snoring appliances, denture repair, tooth whitening and bleaching, digital dentistry and orthodontics. If you're in the dental industry, these are your boys right here, Stuart and the team over at Forth Valley Dental Laboratory. So get involved with them. You can get in touch with them, forthvalleydental.co.uk, forthvalleydental.co.uk, or give them a call, 01324 228 464, 01324 228 464. It's Falkirk Daft this week with Forth Valley Dental Laboratory. So thanks again to Stuart, really big supporter of the podcast, big supporter of doing. Yep. So, and like you say, if you want to jump on board and be a sponsor, you can do that. Hit us up, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com. Not much news in the way of news, Ross, but I've got to say congratulations to our boy Callum Morrison, who was voted August Player of the Month. in the big vote that went on between
Well
fans.
deserved. Yeah, very well deserved. A few goals. Overall play was great. So no, fantastic. And as we know, he's got a Goal Flash sponsor on board now as well. So
Well, exactly. Sure, we'll talk about that a bit later on as well. I think it's due to my pep talk at the start of August when
I would say so.
we said he couldn't really decide what he wanted, the chicken or the steak. But ever since I've said that, it's always been steak, mate. You know what I mean?
Fantastic, Sensei. Steak all the way. Steak
all the way. So well done, Callum Morrison, and keep the goals coming because, as Ross says, we sponsor the goal sponsorship. So yeah, that's great for us. So keep them coming, Callum, and well done on your Player of the Month award. Now, Ross, every week on Falkirk Daft, we get a guest pundit on, and this week is no exception, of course. However, slightly worried about this one, Ross. I'll be honest with you.
Oh. No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Everyone I've spoke to has said, I hope you've got the beat machine at the ready when you get this guy on. So you'll generally find him on match days at the end of the bar in Elliott's. Please welcome to Falkirk Daft, it's Brian Stuart.
Hey Brian, how you doing? You all right?
I'm fine, mate. Thank you very much. Yourself?
Yeah, we're grand.
Good.
Brian, great to have you on the podcast. Everybody, as I said, has been warning me, if you're getting Brian on, get that beat machine at the ready. So I've got it by my side here, ready to go at any point.
You'll be fine, mate. You'll be fine.
It's a family. It's not really a family show. I was going to say it's a family show. It's not really a family show. So swear all you want, Brian. Swear all you want.
You're fine,
Listen,
mate. You're fine.
You've been in and about Falkirk. How many years have you been in and about Falkirk now, mate?
Oh, geez. 30 odd years, maybe longer. Well, it depends. Probably 30 years, I would say. Long time, mate.
I know. What was it that got you into the Bairns, Brian?
It was just a Saturday. I was when we were at school and that, nothing to do on a Saturday. Said he's going to watch some football, and unfortunately, I've tagged along to watch Falkirk and I've always been going back, so that's the way it is now.
And you've ran obviously the Elliott's, the buses up from Elliott's and stuff since we moved to the stadium. Obviously, really involved with the Elliott side of things. What made you get all that started?
Well, it wasn't actually me started. There was a few other guys, like the people in previous times, the Ian Grahams and Ali Bells, etc. And then they got kind of fed up with it. So I've just done it, and just ever since I've had it, kept it going since then. I've done it for over 25 years, 26 years now, I think.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it?
Aye, it is a long time, and I've seen some highs and some lows, Ross, you can imagine.
Definitely. Brian, I remember I think it might have been the summer of '98, you said to me, I'm not running the bus next year. And here we are, it's 2022.
I know, mate. It is. It's also, this the guys to go to the games as well, for a few beers and that. See people taking cars, and it's quite easy, the guys are really good in that, so it's not too bad. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we thank you for it, Brian. Listen, we've got to ask you, we ask everyone that comes on, who's your favourite Falkirk player of all time?
Well, mine, my overall hero was Crawford Bapty, of course, but you've got to see Kevin McAllister, I think. We've had Simon and that as well. There's a few, but my all-time favourite was Crawford Bapty.
Aye, probably, we've never had Croft. No one's ever actually picked.
No, I don't think we've had Croft so far. No, I don't think so.
You've heard me talk the past, Ross. I've talked to him loads of time now, and all-time hero of mine, fantastic player.
Absolutely. Here, Brian, I think you can answer this question. Our big question this week on the podcast is: what's the most random encounter you've had with a Falkirk player? Can you think of anything off the top of your head when you've met one of the Falkirk players out and about, or probably in Elliott's, to be fair?
Oh, there's quite a few comes in back and forward. We're actually getting Liam Craig at the moment. He's kind of coming in back and forward. He's local now. Craig Symbol, just basically just chatting about football and that. And if there are days out to come in for a beer or whatever else, there's always two or three of them hanging about. So you always get a good chance to talk to some of them. Some of them are quite nice.
Some of them.
Aye, some of them. But you know what I mean? I didn't mean it like that, but some of them are quite, quite quiet and else. But most of them are usually quite good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And generally, at the end of the season, everyone piles into Elliott's for the beers anyway, and the player, you do the player of the year and stuff like that. So back on it this season, hopefully more to choose from this season as well, Brian.
hopefully. We've not had it for, well, I think we know we've been pretty poor the last 2 or 3 years. And it's not been best, but hopefully now we've got the right man in charge, hopefully, and maybe get us firing on all cylinders, hopefully, and get us going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, let's get into the game then. Obviously, on Saturday, it was 1-1. It finished at East End Park. Roman Burrow came in to make his first start. Obviously, John McGlynn teased us with on his interview that there would be a misstranger, and that turned out to be Allegria. Gary Oliver got back into the starting 11 as well, as Sean Mackey dropped to the bench with Liam Henderson coming in the centre half there. So is that the lineup you boys would have went with?
Well, I'm not here to pick the manager. The manager's the decision to pick the team, I suppose, but I think that probably the best 11 probably could have started with, to be fair. And they'll get a bit strained back in depth through. But the 11 that they played, especially the guy Barrell up front, he was just something else. The guy was just like a whippet when he started running. They couldn't handle him, you know.
It was tremendous on Saturday, I thought, Burrow. Absolutely tremendous. And, you know, even if Allegri is fit for this Friday night, I'd keep Burrow in. Although he might want to mix the team up with it being a cup game, I suppose.
No, that's true. Obviously, before it was really busy getting on. Ross, you were moaning about the queues and getting searched on the way in.
I thought it was just. Do you know what? It's always horrendous through there because they think every single person that's coming through has got like a weapon on them or something. They're searching wee kids and stuff as well, which is bonkers. Dundee police were as bad a few weeks back as well. Do you know the crowd were boys? The crowd were boisterous on Saturday, but nothing out of the ordinary. Do you know?
It's normal practice.
Yeah,
it's these flares. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what, Brian? There's a point I wanted to make. You know, obviously, I was speaking to. Unusually, there was a crew up from Sheffield, and were interested. I mean, I don't know if they were just there for trouble, but there was a connection there with one of the guys had went down to Sheffield and started supporting the Blades down there, and then they kind of reciprocated by coming up to Falkirk. But I mean, I wanted to actually have a bit of a rant about this, if you'll let me, gentlemen, have a bit of a rant about this, because for me, you know, right, there's a couple of things I want to pick up from that. There was obviously the trouble in town, right? That's kind of part and parcel of this fixture. Again, bit of handbags, throwing chairs at each other, but again, then you get into the ground, you've got to search, fair enough, right? So then we've got the silence wasn't observed, right? Now, your political views and all that, it's football, you know, and you just got to respect that, because any slight, as we'll always see, it'll come back on our club. You know, if our supporters are sitting there making a racket during the silence, and you can think what you want, I'm not a royalist myself, but, you know, I'll respect the silence, because anything, if you break a minute silence, it always comes back on the club, and people, you know, but it's to the detriment of the club. Now, we had, like, all these blue flares going onto the ground. Fair enough, that's what the young team do now. But, you know, they're getting launched at people that are there to do a job, photographers, stewards, and I actually see some of the treatment of the stewards that I saw, for no reason at all. People were just being dicks for the sake of being dicks because they're in the Falkirk end at a Dunfermline match, right? And these guys are just there to do a job, right? And people were just getting in their way and just giving them hassle for the sake of getting hassle. And as for the flares, you know, there was points where they were throwing the flares and it was breaking up the play. You could see Carl Donaldson shouting. I mean, the referee didn't deal with it. It was the guy who came in with the tongs to pick it up and all that, and the safety glasses, which was comedy value.
It was a bit much. It was taking it a bit far, wasn't it?
It was, but I mean, it was interrupting the play and the flow of the game at points, you know, and that shouldn't be. And it comes back in our club, you know. I just don't understand why you would do that. I mean, I know it's a young team, it creates atmosphere, and they're all up singing, and that's great. The atmosphere was fantastic on Saturday, but anything like that, whether it's shouting over the 1 minute silence, whether it's throwing flares in the pitch, whether it's unnecessarily agitating stewards and police and all that stuff, it all comes back to the good name of our football club. And you know what? I'm not for that. I'm not for that. You know,
how do you get the flares in though? Because we're all supposed to be searched, and so where are they putting these things? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to know. I don't want to know, but
I know, but you know what I mean. It's just.
Do you know,
it's so good fun until somebody gets it hurt. That's it done. When somebody gets burnt or hurt, that's it done.
No, exactly.
John, the only thing is, right, see the I know I've said this before. I don't mind. I don't mind the smoke bombs or flares or whatever you want to call them. Right? They add a bit of colour. I think they do help in certain. It builds. It helps. There's just something there, right? However, I think you mentioned about the stewards. The only thing is, I saw a couple of the stewards. There was at least two in there where we were sitting as well. I know you, Brian, you weren't too far away from us as well, right? There was a couple of stewards there who were mouthing off at the fans before they even got in. Because I think I know what you're talking about, John. They weren't letting them pass and stuff, but these guys were mouthing off first. And you've got to bear in mind, there's probably Dunfermline fans who are stewards, and there'll be Falkirk fans who are stewards at our place as well. And that probably is a bit of part and parcel when you're up that end. I'm not convinced it was all Falkirk fans that was at blame here, right? But I think going back to the flares thing, I do think it adds something. I don't agree with when it breaks up the play and causes a disruption to the game flowing and stuff like that. You're right. There was one that missed the photographer, which isn't great, right? But I do think they add something to the atmosphere and the game and stuff. I do.
Say that to my head. I had the blue rings in my hair. It was lovely.
I did see one boy that was just covered in blue. It was like
an episode of Still Game.
And it's like the police are trying to find. I think you're fucked that one. There's no chance you're getting away with this. Honestly, your officer didn't have a blue flare, covered in blue.
Remember the episode of Still Game and the guy had a blue hand. He broke it. The boy's half his face was covered in blue ink.
Listen, can we not just bring back inflatables? That was a good laugh.
Aye, you're right. That was a real proper 80s, 90s thing, bringing the inflatables. Not the controversial ones, but like the funnier ones, like the crocodile.
Well, the few inflatables playing was the last couple of years. I'm sure you hear that. There's been a few inflatables playing with us in the last few years.
That's true, Brian. That's right. Listen, that was just getting in my pedestal there, but let's get into the game, boys. So obviously 1-1, Benedictus for Dunfermline with the penalty, Morrison for us. I mean, the first half, we potentially one of the best we played this season, I thought.
Yeah, I was up there with maybe with the Hibs first half as well, but we played really well. It was just the passing was crisp and firm, and it was good. Against Kelty, the previous, it was just nonsense. But Saturday, he got it spot on. I think he done really, really well. So I think we should be quite pleased with Saturday's performance.
Totally agree. I thought that was, like Brian's just said, it was probably up there with that Hibs game. If anything, we maybe even exceeded the Hibs game. We could have been 4-0 up at half time, and I don't think any of the Fifers would have been. Could have complained about it, to be honest. Quite comfortable. Could have been 3 or 4 up.
Yeah, so what do you think? We're not taking our chances at the moment. I know we've had a few chances in the game, but we just can't get a person to stick it in the net for us at the moment. But Morrison's doing his bit. But he's got his moments as well sometimes. But we took a job for we went. I think, to be fair.
Yeah, no. I mean, we came out to try. It seemed like they were really hungry. It seemed that someone had been in amongst them. I don't know who's kind of got communication about this game, because you've seen Falkirk players go out there and they've not got it. I remember Paul Hartley just didn't he did not get that fixture at all. But someone's obviously had a word in that change room saying, "Listen, boys, this is it." Or in training, hopefully they seem to know the importance of this fixture. And obviously, when they came out to the atmosphere that we created, they felt it as well. But yeah,
you couldn't not be. You come out and there's 2,500 Bairns fans behind the goals. Everybody's up for it. I know we just mentioned the smoke bombs and stuff, right? But it all adds to the atmosphere. It all added to the colour. There was a brilliant noise in there. I saw a video on YouTube yesterday, and it was one of these YouTubers in the home end, and that was what you heard. It was the Bairns fans that were singing. So I think that's given them a wee bit extra oomph in that start of the game as well. I think.
I know it's in Saturday as well. That little shite Sammy the Tammy was in there. I wonder what's happened to him.
It's a valid point. I didn't see Sammy the Tammy.
COVID. As in the mascot. I don't know the man. That would be the mascot itself, though.
I never saw him.
No, you're right. I never saw him either.
That is a valid point. What intrigued me is I don't know why we're playing our away top rather than our home top.
It doesn't matter about that, does it? It's inside the top of matters.
You're right, Brian. You just want to see the navy blue though, but I guess there'll be so many games that they have to play in the away top as well. But no, I was surprised that they started doing that. Let's talk about the goal itself. I mean, we started dominant, like you say, we could have been up by a couple of goals. Really good goal, really well worked from down the right for Burrow, and obviously Cal tapping it in at the back post.
Yeah, the team was more balanced in Saturday compared to the Celtic game. It never seemed to be arse for elbow, but the game more even. The players seemed to know what their job was on Saturday, which was a good sign. Yeah, not done that for a while. So on Saturday they knew what it was all about.
I think we were exciting on Saturday. You could just tell there was something about us. We talked about Morrison. I thought Morrison was actually quite quiet. I know he scored, but otherwise he was quite quiet in the first half, especially. Burrow was
the guy so it was McGuffey. I thought he had a really good game on Saturday. He's usually quite well. I thought he was decent, and the wee Nesbitt had a good game too. But
yeah,
to be fair, I think a good game.
Nesbitt was well up for that game. I thought Nesbitt was well up for it. He was getting in the tackles. He was getting in the mix with the passing. He was picking up the scraps that they were, the misplaced passes that they were making as well, which we were kind of forcing them into making. So no, brilliant.
They did. There was certainly, like Brian says, there was energy about the side, and I thought Burrow led from the front, and he didn't give Benedictus a minute's piece. Obviously, Benedictus got an early booking there as well, and you're thinking, you could be off. Yeah,
should have been off, right?
Yeah, he didn't give him a minute. So Burrow, certainly, I thought up front added a lot of energy, and obviously you could see what happened when it came to the goal there as well. Great save, I have to say. It was right in front of us, Nicky Hogarth, when it was 1-0 to us, and coming near the end of the first half. I thought it was a tremendous save from Nicky.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it makes up for the one made a week before. So he probably should have really held it. He put under the pressure, but he put it over the bar. He should maybe check it.
Aye,
so he held on to it.
I know, but I mean they did. So the first half, all Falkirk, like you say, tremendous energy about the side. To a man, we were better in every position of the park. We were winning that midfield battle, which I thought was really important going into the game. Second half, however. Again, it was the traditional almost game of two halves until we went into that last 10 minutes. They came out with a bit of fight with them, Ross.
They did. They came out. They came. Do you know what? They were probably relieved that they were only one down. I think if it had been worse, that I think we would have just continued to do what we're doing.
Yeah, I said to you, we needed that second. We were desperate on that second goal because we knew what was coming the second half, didn't we?
Well, exactly. They were shooting towards their home fans as well. That the Norrie end, and you knew they were going to be up for it. So they didn't have all the second half though. I thought the last 10 minutes was 10-15 minutes was a lot more kind of favour towards us. I think we had the better of the chances in that last period as well. And I thought if there was one team running it, I thought it was going to be us. To be honest,
you can't discount the fact they obviously hit the post twice, mind you.
No, they did. Listen, they had time where they were on top. They definitely did. I think the penalty gave them a massive bit of lift as well. I'm no idea what Henderson thought he was doing, lunging in like that. To be honest, I've watched it back, and I don't know if I don't think it's as reckless as I thought it was at the time. But still, he could have just the boy actually crossed it in anyway. He didn't even stop the cross, and obviously it went nowhere. So we could have got away with it, but.
It's just one of these things, Ross. We're learning. We're still learning. The team's still gelling together, but the things are looking good. I think we should be more positive about it for a few years. Yeah. Some of the signings that he's got is decent. Yeah. John's no stupid. He's a wise old.
I think we all trust him. I think we do. We all trust him to get the right players in, and hopefully, maybe we're not done. Maybe there's a loan signing still to come in. I don't know.
Certainly, right back. We could really do. And saying that, though, I thought Finn Yates ran an absolute. He ran for miles. He put in so much effort. You see, he was obviously a bit of cramp there, but I thought he put a good shift. The Henderson thing. I mean, like you say, Ross, there was no need for it, was there? There was absolutely no need. You can still tell he's probably just that wee bit off proper match fitness. I think hopefully, once he gets a wee bit more into flow games, because we all know he's a good player. He's a good player, and I think centre half's definitely his position. But I just think it's going to take him just a few more matches to get into a rhythm, you know.
We just seem to get one person back and another one goes out injured. We just get this full team selection and gives a really good, decent chance and go on a run. Because I think if you win 6-7 games in a row, I think you could go far. You know, I don't. And anybody's no, and they're top of the league, and they're non-special. We top of the league. They're actually pretty poor.
Brian, that was my thoughts as well. See, when we're coming back on the bus and then talking about it in the pub after the game, that was my thoughts as well. See if that's the team that's good enough to be sitting top of the league unbeaten. We've not hit, and I know we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times with a couple of bad games, but if we could just, as you say, get 6-7 results on the bounce, we'd probably be above them quite comfortably.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, was not a sprint, as they say.
Absolutely. You know, that's only the second goal they've conceded this season. So that's testament to how we did in the first half. You can tell there's quality there from Dunfermline. They've got a couple of really good players. I mean, Benedictus, as much as he probably could have walked in that, I think Benedictus, I'm actually disappointed we missed out on him, because it was obviously talk about him coming to us. But yeah, there was big chances they missed. But let's talk about the big chances there in the last 10 minutes. Callum Morrison and Burrow potentially as well. They were, I mean, the Burrow chance especially, just think, oh.
There's a couple of times as well when Morrison's in a position and he shoots it rather than square it to somebody edge of the box to get a shot off, and he wants to take it on himself. But you know what? He scores the goals. We can't really complain too much about that. That's just nitpicking a bit. But his final ball sometimes to me a bit kind of dodgy sometimes. But
do you know one of the half chances that frustrated me on Saturday? Remember there was I can't remember if it was a shot and then it was blocked, and then I think it was Gary Oliver, and he let the ball go out for a corner kick, and I thought
again,
took it down and actually had a pop at goal.
Yeah, you know, I remember that as well. I mean, there was chances in that. Certainly, like you say, that last 10 minutes, you know, we could have went on to win it, and saying that they could have, preceding that, they had their chances of us hitting the post and what have you as well. I draw a fair result though. I hate to say it, but I walked away from it thinking that is probably a fair result.
We could have won it, but we'll take a draw. That's what I say.
Ross,
I was disappointed. I wanted 3 points before the game, and I thought we did enough. But you're right. Listen, we've not got beat. We've went through there and got a point. We need to beat them at home though. That's 3 points. We need to get them at the start of November. That has to be 3 points.
Yeah.
But remember this, Ross. This was their biggest game of the season for them. You know, this was the game that beat us, and we play well away from them. If they come back here now, and hopefully we'll more players back fit. You know what I mean? Get players that's
absolutely
level, and
there'll be a full house. I think at the next time they play us
keep going.
as well.
They'll drop points as well. Let's not kid ourselves. They're going to drop points along the way as well, because judging on that first half from them, they'll not be 100% at. So they're going to drop points along the way as well. Get 2 draws at East End Park, or a draw and a win at East End Park, and then beat them back at the stadium. You know, that's got to be our goal. I mean, looking at the results again across the weekend, Airdrie aren't going away, and I thought they would be going away this season. They had that blip against Edinburgh, but it seems to be there's a lot. Edinburgh seems to be
murder.
Well, ask you, Brian, but then they went and pumped Airdrie 6-0, and you think, Christ.
I know, but listen, Airdrie beat us 4-0, but we had men off the park and everything. That Airdrie game wasn't a 4-0 game. Edinburgh are shite, mate. Let's be clear about that. They're shite. They shouldn't have been in the league anyway.
There's the bleep machine coming out now. Here we go. We've got them revved up now.
Edinburgh should have been in the league because they've not got a park that's up to scratch. So they shouldn't have been in the league to start with. And for them to be sitting second top is really a poor standard. That's what I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, got to put a shout out though, and this is a credit to both sets of supporters. You look down the attendances from the weekend's game. So we are the third biggest attended game at the weekend there. Rangers Dundee United, obviously, 49,334. Hibs Aberdeen, 17,292. And we've got a better attendance than Motherwell versus Hearts, which was 6,546, and we've taken 6,670. St Mirren versus Celtic, we're even beating that as well, you know what I mean? So it just goes to show you, you know, it's like, Christ, why are Falkirk in this firm at this level, you know?
Because we are.
Because we are, you're right, because we've been shite, that's exactly it.
We all know we deserve to be here in terms of merit, right? So we know that. But in terms of the stature of the fixture, it does show you. And I know we've mentioned it earlier on about the extra baggage that the fixture brings, right? But it always has for a long time, and I don't think that's going away. And it actually, if anything, it adds to the edge. And I'm not promoting anything, right? But it adds to the edge. It adds to the atmosphere that it builds up pre-match. We were looking forward to this game for weeks in advance. It's the first fixture you look at when the fixtures are announced. Long may it continue. And as I say, I think the game in November, Mr. Simon Steinrod's back for it as well. There'll be a full house in the home end, I think. The away end will probably sell it fairly quickly as well. And what will that 8,000 probably? I think so. I think that'll be the first sell at the stadium's had in about six years.
Do you think 8,000 potentially, Ross? That November the 5th game?
Why not? If we're still neck and neck, Falkirk fans come out and back the team.
I think if we play well enough, I think we'll be far off. Ross, I think. Well, there's 6,000 Saturday. It's just under something Saturday, so
yep.
You know, you've got a chance.
Absolutely.
And it'd be good for Scottish football as well, to show what potential we actually have. But you've got to earn it, Ross. That's the difference.
No, we do.
Absolutely. Let's hear from John McGlynn, the manager.
John, to start things off, first half, one word for me, dominant. Would you agree or not?
Absolutely, yeah. We played really well, some great football, some good chances, and possibly will ruin the fact that we didn't take them. You know, we had some really good chances, and I repeat myself because watching it looked like a really good performance. You know, good football, flowing football, fast moving, getting in behind them, getting down the sides of them, and causing them all sorts of problems. And as I say, probably ruined the fact that we didn't take 2 or 3 in the first half, and probably, you know, give us that extra cushion. You know, regardless of how many in front, the game's never finished. But you know, if you get 2 or 3 in front at half time, give yourself a right good opportunity to go and win the game. And of course, we expected Dunfermline to come out at the start of the second half and have a go, which they did. We just had to weather that storm. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't quite do that. But I thought after that, again, we came back into the game and created another, you know, good few opportunities that we could easily have won the game, even based on the second half as well. So pleased with the performance, pleased with the attitude, the players' work rate. Excellent first half. Didn't quite weather the storm as much as we should have done at the opening period of the second half, and then regained control in the game, so to speak, and good opportunities. So big improvement on our last game, and you know, you're away from home. You know, it's the position we're in. You want to win. I mean, it's probably not the worst point either. You know, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it's a lot of positives to take from that game.
He mentions attitude and work rate in that chat there. That's something that I don't think we've had in the last couple of seasons. And you can see it through this Falkirk side, can't you?
Yeah. There's a bit of want about them now. They seem to want to know what they want to win now, I think. I know we're not going to win every game, and it's difficult, but at least I think if Falkirk fans see the players trying, I think that's all you can ask. Because let's be fair, the last 2 years has been absolutely dreadful to watch, and Saturday was the right direction for me. They're trying to win the game, which is positive.
I agree, Brian. Do you know, it's not just the fact that they've not been good enough the last 3 or 4 years, but the desire hasn't been there at all either. And
we can see that, Ross, eh?
Absolutely. And see, if you think back to that Hibs game at the start of the Premier Sports campaign, remember when Mackie made that tackle?
Brilliant.
It was as cheered as loud as any of the goals that were.
When Morrison chased that ball down against Queen of the South, was it Queen of the South?
Aye, yeah.
I think it's something that I don't, and this is the thing with John McGlynn being in his manager as opposed to the previous incumbents, is that he won't settle for a lack of attitude, for a lack of work rate, is he? And he's the kind of manager that, you know, he's going to install that into the players, because he's not going to bring in players like, he's obviously the players that he has brought in, he's worked with, and he knows like Cole Donaldson, Sean Mackey, he knows what he's getting from them. Liam Henderson, and he's not going to settle for anything less. I don't think so. Well, I think previous incumbents of that position, you're talking Martin Rennie, talking Paul Sheeran, would settle for that because they had a way they wanted to play football. But McGlynn's got that, but he's also not going to settle for anything less than 110% from the players.
But no, what I noticed as well, Jim, is the fact that we didn't get kicked off the ball so much now. We seem to be laying in a bit. For the last 2 years we've been pushovers, but this year a wee bit more steel on the team, which is, as I say, every Falkirk fan just wants a team to win, but try. At least they're trying this season. We're happy with trying.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Well, let's hear from the other supporters. Ross, do you want to kick us off?
So Josh says first half today were superb. Movement was terrific. Really looked to drive forward on the ball. Second half we looked nervous and lost our spark a little bit. Henderson again with a needless foul and cost another goal. A draw, a fair result in the end. Burrow was unreal, and his direct runs and pace will be our best strength this year.
Is he? A lot of people. Is he now our first choice striker? I mean, Allegri again. I think obviously it started going, what is this boy all about? But he really came in the game with his hold up play. He obviously got his goal recently as well. But does Burrow, after that performance on Saturday, force his way into the side and become our first choice striker?
Do you know, I was looking at Burrell on Saturday, and he's no a big guy, he's no stocky, he's skinny, but he's strong. And he holds the ball up, as you say, and brings players. I think he's got a really good chance to go now, I didn't see why not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd like to see the pair of them.
Give him a chance.
I'd like to see the pair of them, Brian, because they're two different players. They're not the same player, and I know he likes to play this one up front with the two supporting him and stuff like that. But I think he's going to have to play the guys that are in form, not just people playing.
That's his problem. He's a manager. He's the man who picks. We can all decide, but he's a manager, so he picks, and that's what it is.
It's interesting. I'd be interested to see, because putting Allegri in as the 9 and putting Burrow in as the 10, where Gary Oliver's playing. I think he likes Gary Oliver because his work rate. Listen, Gary Oliver is all over that park, and Matt, I've complained that he drops too deep at times, but I think he likes that. I think he likes Gary Oliver for that.
I agree. Yeah. Well, he, as you say, he comes back quite a bit, but he is all over the place, and you can't fault his commitment to winning the ball, try to get forward. It's a little bit frustration at times when you want him in the box and he's not there. But then maybe that's not his game.
Well, that's it. Matthew says first half was unreal. We have the best we've played in years. Should have been 5 up. They came into the game in the second half. Burrow was unreal, and Hendo, in my opinion, looks like he has a mistake in him. But all in all, progress is clearly being made.
See, just to go back on Henderson, I actually thought he played really well. Like, I know he made an arse of the tackle and stuff, but him and Donaldson actually, I think, could be quite a good partnership. And I do like Mackey, but I do think Henderson.
I think the back was quite steady. Ross with young lad Yates and left back guy and McCann. I think that's quite steady, that back four.
Totally.
Yeah. I think they might get right back.
Yeah, I mean, McCann, I thought McCann, I think, has been absolutely fantastic this season. He's in a really good run of form. Again, I thought on Saturday he had a really, really good game. And Sean Mackey, probably unlucky to drop out the side as well, but he fancies getting Henderson back in there. But I don't think I'm sure he'd be really keen on getting Sean Mackey at left back, but the form that McCann's in, you can't drop him.
No, you can't. It would be so unfair. I know there's a wee rumour going about that. He was obviously trying to get McCann out on loan and stuff. I think that'd be a terrible move. I'm sure it's off the table now, hopefully, but that would be a terrible decision. Absolutely. Stephen says, I love Falkirk, supported them for almost 40 years, took my bairn to his first derby, amazing. Looked awesome at times and probably deserved the 3 points. Points suited the pars, although I'm happy with a point and not losing.
I think, that was the big thing. We didn't lose. We got the point and get down the road. Jack says, good game at the library today. Our fans were outstanding. Good first half. Handled them well in the second half. Henderson seems to be giving me the fear at the moment.
That's a few saying that. Douglas says, should have won it with the first half performance. Can I agree, to be honest? Could have lost it with the second half. Good to see quality attacking football with the resilience to defend against a direct style of play. That's a really, really positive way of saying that they were hoofball merchants.
I didn't think they were that. They had some good. Who was the boy? Is it Comrie, the young lad that plays the under, the guy that's got Scotland under 21 cap?
Mockery.
Yeah, Mockery, that was it. Mockery. I thought he in midfield looked like a really good wee player. And he caused.
I can see why they've won games and stuff. They are very direct, but I never saw a lot of football. If I'm being honest, I think that's why we'll go above them sooner rather than later. I think.
All the people that's phoning in, texting in, Ross, are saying the same. We should have won the game, and that's still been said for a few years now.
Yeah, you're right.
When's the last time all the folks we should have won the game?
Yeah,
absolutely. Gupty says, fair result. They'll argue rightly they had better chances, but we controlled most of the game and played by far the better football. Take the point and on to Clyde in a fortnight.
True. Danny says, good first half, honking for most of the second. It's becoming a bit of a habit now, unfortunately. Are they doing yoga at halftime? Poor penalty to give away, and the subs made far too late. Disappointed. I kind of agree with him about the subs, actually. I thought we could have made the subs maybe 10 minutes earlier than that, if I'm being honest.
I agree. I think Burrow had ran his race a wee bit. There could have been Kai Kennedy. Obviously, it was good to see him, and obviously Brad Mackay back on the bench there at the weekend as well. He looked all right when he came on. He looked a bit handy.
Who, Kennedy?
Yeah, didn't get to see much of him, but
yeah, he never had long.
Remember it. John's got a major problem now because all these players are pushing for a place.
Yeah,
they're decent players, but they've been doing a depth in the squad for a long time like that.
Yeah,
he's got a So it's a good problem to have, though.
It is a good problem to have. I'm quite interested to see how much he tinkers for Friday night, because obviously I'm conscious that Partick or he'll be conscious as well that Partick are a championship team.
They'll tinker though. They'll tinker with their side as well.
We'll tinker a little bit. We'll probably tinker a little. But I'd like to see Kennedy get a start. I think he'd be pretty good. Lawal, I would start as well. So
again, he looked good when he came on as well. We offered something different as he normally does. Brian says we controlled the first half, but maybe didn't create enough for more than one goal. Second half was just a battle, and we showed resilience that we'd not been there last season. A point away to your biggest rivals is not a bad result. Nothing to fear going forwards.
True. Grant says better team in the first half, but they were there for the taking and eventually paid the price for not creating enough chances and not being clinical enough in front of goal when we did. Thought we just shaded it overall, but again, happy with the point.
Yeah, it's very much the same. Everyone's kind of walking away with this game with the same opinion. David says the most pleasing thing was that every Falkirk player was up for it and gave their all, but that's how we should be in every game. Nesbitt and Burrow were different class today. And Tyler there says, fair result, controlled most of the play, but some amateur defending cost us the points. Good result to build off of and create an 8-win streak until the return leg. So there you go, 8 games between now and the next game against them.
Do you know, John, that's a good shout though. Sorry, who was it? David that said?
Tyler says that.
Tyler. And then the comment before David says about the players being up for it, they were up for it. But like we said last week, they need to be up for it every week, because there's no point in doing this and putting all this passion and the fighting against Dunfermline to then in 10 days' time now against Clyde not being up for it. They need to be up for it. Nesbitt needs to have a better game.
Yeah. Can't just be 1 in 5. He can't just be 1 in 5.
No, we can't afford it. So
absolutely.
Aye.
You want to finish with the last comment, Ross?
Yes. So Willie just says Dunfermline or Specky. I'm not even sure.
I quite like that. Right. Come to the point in the podcast where we've got to decide on our Falkirk Daft rated and our Falkirk Dafty of the week. Let's start with the positives and go for our Falkirk Daft rated player. Ross, who you got?
Only one name for me. I thought Raman Burrow was fantastic on Saturday. There's a few that could get it because, as we've talked about, McCann had a great game, Nesbitt a really good game as well. But I'm going to go Raman Burrow.
Yeah. Brian, who you got?
I'm going to go Nesbitt, I think. I went there, but I'll go for Nesbitt. I thought he had a good game as well, to be fair. So, Nesbitt.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to have to go with Burrow as well. You know, I thought first time starting, he put in a shift. He gave Benedictus all sorts of problems, specifically in that first half. He ran his race a wee bit. I think you could see that kind of midway through the second half. But Yeah, I just wish he'd taken that chance. Imagine if he'd taken that chance in the last 10 minutes, it would have been brilliant.
The place would have went absolutely bananas. It would have went.
Don't forget about Burrell as well, Ross. He's never played at that level of football before. This is all new to this guy as well.
I know, absolutely. No, absolutely.
You know?
That's probably worked in his favour as well, because they don't know him. None of the coaches won't know him. The players don't know him. They don't know what he can do. And that setup, the wee dink down the wing, hitting the byline, it was just brilliant. Like, it was just fantastic.
No, absolutely. Right, Falkirk Dafty, who's getting it this week, Ross?
It's going to have to be Liam Henderson.
Aye.
I don't think I don't think he had to lunge in.
No.
I don't think it was as reckless as when I saw it live. I thought, what the hell's he done there? But when you watch it back, I don't think it was as reckless, but still, it's still silly, and I don't think he had to make it.
Yeah, Brian, you agree?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair result. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Henderson all round. Then I'm going to go for Henderson as well. Again, like I say, I think match fitness contributes to that, and I think when he hopefully gets there, he'll be all right. But yeah, it's a couple of Falkirk Dafties for Henderson now, so hopefully you can get a Falkirk Daft rated soon enough. Listen, Brian, thank you so much for coming on and being our guest. But we didn't have to use the bleep machine that much.
No, yet. Anyway.
Absolutely brilliant to have you on there.
I told Ross on Saturday I wasn't as bad as what I needed to be.
Fair enough. So if you want to get involved with Elliott's, you can always see Brian. He's at the end of the bar every Saturday taking the money for the bus, so you'll get him down there at Elliott's. If you want to come to Elliott's for a couple of pints before the match and get up to the match, Brian's your man.
Yeah, boy, mate. Cheers, thank you.
Cheers,
right,
Brian.
thanks, Brian. And just remember, if you want to be on the show, be our guest pundit, you can drop us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or you can bob us an email, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com.
This is Falkirk Daft.
It's Falkirk Daft with Forth Valley Dental Laboratory. Thanks once again for their sponsorship this week. Remember, you can get them at forthvalleydental.co.uk for all your dental needs. Services include chrome and acrylic denture work, crown and bridge, implants, sports mouth guards, all sorts of stuff, anti-stone appliances. Get them at forthvalleydental.co.uk. And thanks once again for the sponsorship of the podcast. Right, every week on Falkirk Daft, we ask a big question. This is a bit of a random one. We got one of our friends, Joe Hind. We had this story from her. I completely forgot about it. That she was in, I think it was FK1, the nightclub.
Yes, I think that's where she was. It was either that or Rosie's.
It was either that or Rosie's. And she basically, Stephen Rennie, ex-Falkirk, right back, she turned round and he basically stuck his tongue down her throat, and she was like, that was very random. So she got snobbed by Stephen Rennie. So we thought we should have probably asked if you had any sexual encounters with Falkirk players. But we went for what's the most random encounter you've had with a Falkirk player, and that was a big question this week. And Ross, you're going to kick us off.
Yes, I will. And it's spooky. We're talking about.
Did you have one before we get into the list?
Do you know? There's probably been a few over the years. The only thing I can, off the top of my head, remember being in hospitality mid-noughties, and we've been kicked out of the Broadville Lounge. It's like 6:30. It's time to go. That kind of scenario, and we're waiting on a taxi to take us up to town, and Pedro Matinho, I remember, he was outside having a fag, and he's like,
professional footballer.
Yeah, he's like, where he's going, and we're like, we're just going up to town. He's like, oh, can we share a taxi? Can't get one. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Thinking, have we got room for Pedro? And he's like, oh, can my mate come? And I was like, well, we'll need to phone and get another taxi. So we phoned and got 2 taxis. Pedro's mate that he was talking about was wee Russell. Russell comes out, has a quick fag before the taxi comes as well, and so we're sharing a taxi up to behind the wall, and then we got invited in for a beer. Granted, we went in, we had a beer, and then obviously they had stuff to go and do, so we shared a beer with them, but that was pretty random.
Oh, that's tremendous. That's tremendous.
Fair play to Pedro for not saying, "Oh, it's wee Russell." He's like, "Oh, it's my mate." Yeah, it's fine. He's coming.
I'd have been like kicking people out. Russell, you're not coming, pal.
Exactly.
Kicking people out of the taxi. Absolutely.
I've got any random ones.
Very random. So I was at Hospitality at the Darts once down in Newcastle and managed to blag it in. And this included, it was a very random night. I sat next to the guy who made the dartboards, right? Now, there's only like one company in the world pretty much that make dartboards, right? And his family, this business has been his family since the 1900s, early 1900s and stuff like that. And he made the dartboards. So I was sat next to him, having banter, and I went, great chat with him, bagged it into the players' lounge, right? At the darts this was down in Newcastle where I lived down there during the time. So I'm in the players' lounge, right? There's Raymond Barneville. I got Barney. I've got chatting away with Barney, having a beer with fucking Raymond Barneville. It's amazing. However, what was more amazing was that Tim Krul, who was obviously playing for Newcastle at the time,
Of course, he's Dutch.
He was Dutch, so he was down, and I was like, Tim. I was like, he's playing for Newcastle. You play for Falkirk, so I'm like, all these Newcastle boys are sitting chatting about Newcastle. I'm like, Tim, the Bears, go on, let's talk about the Bears. I'm steaming at this point. So there's me, Raymond Barneveld and Tim Krul, and talking about Falkirk, and like I was like, what's the connection between Tim Krul and Ray Barneveld? How do you know each other? How did you? Apparently, Raymond Barneveld, before he became a professional darts player, worked beside Tim's dad. So they come from the same town in Holland, and Ray worked beside Tim's dad, so that was why Tim was down at the darts. And random encounter, there's me, Newcastle, Ray Barneveld and Tim Krul. But that was my most random encounter with a Falkirk player. I was about it, absolutely about it. But listen, everyone's been in touch with their stories, so let's wrap around some of your stories. Our friend Fraser Boy, this is a belter, met Pedro Moutinho in the Reading Tesco car park once. I was going back to my car and he told me I had a flat tyre. Never meet your heroes.
That's... I can just imagine Fraser actually being pretty annoyed. Yeah. The fact that he's met Pedro, but actually he's told him that he's going to cost him some money as well.
Yeah.
Dell, he's been in touch. So as an 11-year-old, he had a dental appointment in Grangemouth. In walks wee Crunchy to the waiting room, and his dad telling him in awe how in awe he was of him. He came over, sat next to him, blethered until it was time for him to go and get his filling.
Amazing. Can I just tell you right now, Ross, I had one of the best moments of my life on Saturday. And by the way, thanks to everyone in Elizabethan that came up and said they liked the podcast. I really appreciate that. But I was standing talking to my mates. I got a wee tap on the shoulder. Who was that? It was Kevin McAllister. Tapped me on the shoulder. I said, "You all right, John?" Shook my hand because I'd done that Crunchy night behind the wall and stuff like that. He kind of knows me now. And I went, "Oh, who did it?" I was like, to my mate Gary, I was like, "Did you just see that? Please tell me you just saw that." And I was having a wee chat with him. But that was one of the greatest moments of my life.
You've not washed your hands since then, have you?
Absolutely not. But the fact he tapped me on the shoulder, "You all right, John?" I was like, "Oh, did you get McAllister on you?" Anyway, that was very exciting.
Listen, that is exciting. That is exciting. And the wife should be excited by that as well. Listen, you just go home and listen, Crunchy's touched my hand today.
Exactly. Stephen Gibson's been in touch, says that Coldplay gig a few weeks ago at Hampden, you got a freebie with work, VIP. He was in a box, looked to his right and saw this chap, and he's got a picture with him, with Stephen McGinn, who was there with his other brothers. So John must have been there as well.
Wow. Oh, there you go. Oh, listen, nice to be seeing the Bairns captain that night then. Lewis Hogan has got in touch. I think Lewis is going to be coming on the podcast at some point in the next few weeks as well. Kevin James and Scott Severin appearing at his mate's house after a night out. It was bizarre to see Kevin not only walk past the front window, but then come into the house. He would have been about 15 at the time, as in Lewis would have been 15 at the time. The thing is, Kevin would have probably had to duck to get into the house.
I would suspect so. David Gray, not Babylon, but Falkirk supporter, Dave the Bairn, says Bobby Leshnick and Jack Compton shared a house opposite me. Also returned Bobby's wallet when he dropped it in the Thistle Centre. Met Nathan Austin at Musselburgh races, and he's wearing a truly terrible suit.
Fair play. Craig is in touch. Pedro seems to be coming up in a few of these comments here. Pedro Moutinho once asked me for a light outside Elliott's.
There's a common thread here.
Do you think he meant light and not a fight? Hopefully a light, surely, yeah.
Aye. Wesley says, met Will Vokes and Behind the Wall after beating Queen of South and Dumfries. My mate's band was playing and Will and I had a dance off.
Super. Stewart has got in touch to say early 90s. I'll read it verbatim as well because he's got a real good way of words here, Stewart. Early 90s, my mom got someone round to paint the outside of the house, and it wasn't a euphemism. I looked out my bedroom window and Peter Godfrey was outside on a ladder painting the house.
Absolutely brilliant. Benny Kell, Kenny Bell, out for a meal with a big group of friends. I met Daniel McBreen, and in full earshot of everyone at the table and to their amusement, I said, "Thanks, Daniel, for the memories."
Well, I don't know if this is the last one or not, but it's a nice one to end if it is. Knowles Next has tweeted us to let us know that Scott MacKenzie spewed on his shoes at the back of the Howgate.
Listen, that is, we're going to listen. I think we've got so many of these coming in. I think we'll do more of these next week. So the big question: keep these coming in on our Twitter at Falkirk Daft, on Facebook, DM us on Facebook. Your random encounters with Falkirk players, keep them in because I've got a few. I think there's a few more in the bag here, so keep them coming in, and we'll continue this on the big question next week.
This is Falkirk Daft.
It's Falkirk Daft this week, sponsored by Forth Valley Dental Laboratories. Thanks to Stuart and the team over there for jumping on board. And every week on Falkirk Daft, we like to look ahead to our next game. And this week, it's on a Friday night under the lights at the stadium, and it's against Partick Thistle, our old rivals from League One last year. We won't talk about any of that. In fact, was it two? No, it was last year, wasn't it? It just kind of wiped my memory of that. Was
2
it
years.
2 years ago. That, God, I don't want to go back to that night in Maryhill. That's why I've tried to forget about it. Anyway, you heard them there and making their way to the podcast. Build at a weight of £220. He's a scourge of Maryhill. He's a former ICW heavyweight champion and also happens to be a Thistle supporter as well. He is Rudo Lightning, aka Andy Wason. How you doing, Andy?
How you doing? All right. How's it going?
Yeah, so I'm getting confused. The last couple of seasons, Andy, are just an absolute blur as a supporters. I just want to forget about them. That's why I'm so confused.
They've all been shit. They just merge into one shitness, don't they? So
I know.
Yeah.
However, for Thistle, I mean, you're back up in the Championship after a wee spell in League One. How's it been going this season, Andy?
I think Thistle have built on their progress that they made last season. I think it's easy to be disappointed in last season because Thistle were in like a really good position. They fell away through injuries and you'd probably say lack of depth in the squad. So I think that's something that the management team and the board, to be fair to them, have backed that as well. They've given them the resource to go ahead and get a bit of depth in the squad, and it's definitely shown. And there's maybe times this season where last season, if a player were to become injured, we didn't really have anybody for cover, but there's a lot of depth in the squad this season, so it's been a mixed bag. But what I would say is the quality of football in the Championship's pretty good. It's always been a competitive league, but I think in years gone by, the quality of football, maybe a bit more of a scrappy game, a bit more physical. But the Queen's Park have been tremendous. They played Thistle off the park. United, we haven't played them yet, but they're also a very, very good side. If it's watching them on BBC and stuff like that, and so for Thistle, the expectation, I suppose, for Thistle is to make the playoffs. I would, if you were to ask Ian McCall, I don't think he'd be telling you that the expectations in the squad to win the league, but you've got to think that Thistle should be up there. Yeah. But the Saturday's an example. The Thistle, it's hard to criticise them, but they have this kind of thing going on where they only play for 80 minutes.
Yeah, well, you saw the 2 late goals from Reynolds there at the weekend.
Yeah, it's not the first time that's happened either. And it happened often last season as well. So I think there's maybe a psychological thing there that they may need to work on. So it's something for, Thistle have a habit of late goals. Yeah. And sometimes it's disappointing because, you want that clean sheet as well. Sometimes when you're trying to win a league, clean sheets are an important thing. I think maybe psychologically, and they were beating Inverness 4-0. They were absolutely flying, and then they just let a goal in 92 minutes, and that was the clean sheet gone.
Yeah.
So that would be nice for that. But yeah, you can't complain. I mean,
top eight of the league, Andy. I mean, 4 wins, 2 draws, and just 1 loss on the table already. I mean, 14 points, 4 clear of Dundee. More importantly, as well. Do you fancy Thistle for the league, or do you think you might fall away? With strength of the likes of Dundee and Inverness in there.
Yeah, I just no. I mean, I don't think Dundee or Inverness. I don't think either of those teams are in any better a position than Thistle. I would say that Queen's Park and Ayr United are probably the two that people aren't really talking about. I think Queen's Park ruined
your ground last season.
You would expect Owen Coyle's always ran a tight ship. Like he's never really been a bad man. Like he's never had a really bad spell at a club, as far as I can remember. So you'd expect that. And they've got a lot of ambition.
Ross County supporters might disagree with you there.
Yeah, that's right. But he just come back for winning the Indian League and Ayr United, and I just know they've put a lot of time and effort into their backroom staff, and they've got a sports science department, and they're probably got that edge. I don't think a lot of clubs in the league are really tapping into that sports science, psychology, all that kind of stuff, and that stuff helps. So I would say Thistle's biggest rival for the title's probably Ayr. I would say.
Oh wow!
I really don't think. Nah, I think Inverness are. They might make the top 4. I don't know what order, but I can't see it beyond Queen's Park, Ayr, Dundee, and Thistle at the moment. Thistle, as I say, they've got the depth in the squad. They can score goals. So it's in their hands, really.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to win the league, but it's fun being in the Championship. We've been there before. Thistle, they go into the Premiership. It's good to be there. There's that, playing all these teams that you've not played for a while, going to new stadiums and stuff, being on Sky. But then, ultimately, you're not playing for anything.
No.
You might be playing for top 6, and we've done that before, and we weren't strong enough a team for the top 6. We get battered after the split, so it's difficult because I think you see a difference in the crowds and stuff as well when they're not really playing for anything; they're just playing games, and there isn't that excitement that there would be if you're contesting for a title or playoffs or whatever. So
I know you see that quite often actually, where teams will get a far bigger crowd as a successful team in the Championship than a struggling team in the Premier League. Absolutely.
Yeah, commercially as well, just strips everything. But the Thistle first went up. You're going back 20 years now for the whole First Division, and that was the first time they'd been up. And you just seen a big difference in everything. Like crowds, shirt sales, everything just went down, which isn't really that great for the club. You get the parachute payments and all that, and it keeps the club going. But you want to win stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I know John just mentioned it there now, but I take it the pitch is a hell of a lot better than it was last year, Andy.
Yeah, they completely relayed it, so it got taken out and relayed in the summer, and it's a 50-50. So it's it's a hybrid turf. So
yeah,
and also Queen's Park don't play at Firhill anymore. Yeah. They do. There are some Rangers B play there sometimes, and I know Ukraine are training on Firhill tonight.
Oh right.
But yeah, I mean the pitch was. I would probably say that was probably one of the big things that cost us a lot of points eventually in the league, just with some of the. I mean, because Thistle are a passing team. You know, like they.
Well, it's a McCall side. The way McCall sets up, having had him at Falkirk, but at the start of his career, really, he does set an exciting attacking brand of football.
Yeah, and with the pitch the way it was, I just don't think that they were able to play at all. One thing about this particular squad is, I think it's almost like a kind of a Ian McCall's Avengers Assemble in a way. Like there's players there that he signed for Thistle in his first stint at the club, and they've returned. But he's also a sprinkle of players that he had at Ayr United in this squad as well. So he seems to have assembled quite a kind of a trusted squad, and people that he's worked with before, and even backroom staff as well. So it's exciting. A
couple of ex-Bairns in there that we'll have to mention. David Mitchell, goalkeeper. Got Aero, Aaron Muirhead, former Falkirk captain in there, and Anton Dowds, who obviously just left us at the end of last season to come. How are those players? Because we always like to look at our ex-players, Andy. Mm-hmm. How do those three fare?
Well, Mitchell's first choice keeper at the minute, so I don't really know why, but Jamie Snedden, who was, you might remember from when we were in League One, young keeper, doesn't seem to be getting a game at the minute. Nobody really knows why. Rumours of a tiff between himself and the manager. So Mitchell's been playing almost every game. The fans, I mean, you'll hear mixed reviews in the stand about Mitchell, but I think he's a good keeper. I hear a lot of people bringing his distribution into question. But he's made some good saves. He's not. You can't really blame him for these kind of goals going in at the end of the game kind of thing. I don't think it would make much of a difference. But Muirhead, Muirhead's one of the players Muirhead played for Thistle before under McCall, when they won the first division in 2013. So familiar with the club. He's got a hernia. He's had just a hernia up, I think. So he's not been about. Scored against Kilmarnock in the Premier Sports Cup when we beat them up at Rugby Park. But that was, I'm pretty sure that was his last game after he went for his op. And Dowds has been playing really well. Doesn't normally start. Maybe has been starting a bit more recently. Feels like he has come on and scored a few games, and everyone in and around Firhill seems to be really impressed with him as well. Hearing a lot of good things about him. See him myself as well, but it's always good to base your comments on what other people are saying as well. So he's going to be a big player for the club. I think the fans are really taking to him as well. So
I'm sure he'll be buying like a bear on Friday night if he plays as well, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he's bound to score on Friday if you're. Aside from the players mentioned there, is there anyone else we should look out for on Friday, Rudo?
I think given that I'm just checking what the last starting lineup one, I've got it here. I don't expect Thistle to play. I don't expect Thistle to rest anybody per se, just because
the cup. Yeah.
Well, there isn't a game. It's not like it's a midweek thing. I mean, there's an international break. They'd probably be happy to be playing. Harry Milne, who you might remember from I think he came for Cove.
Oh, right.
We signed him for Cove, so he's been fantastic. Scott Tiffany spent a large period of last season injured, and quite a bit of this season, to be fair. But he's starting to come into a game a wee bit. You've got Brian Graham.
Brian Graham's always a threat. He really is a really good player at this level.
Yeah, and Ross Docherty. I like Ross Docherty a lot. He's the captain of the club. A lot of Thistle fans maybe he's not really their bag, but I think he's a good captain for the club, and he can surprise you in front of goal as well. But this will do on the whole. I mean, they've got a strong bench as well. You might see Tunjak and Ola starting, big centre half. He was pretty prominent last season. Struggled to get back into the team really after we signed a lot of guys in the summer. But Kyle Turner, you might not be familiar with him. He's ex-Dunfermline. His dad played for Dunfermline as well, so he gets quite a bit of stick off Dunfermline fans.
We don't know him, but we instantly hate him, Andy. So that's a given.
Can you explain to me why Falkirk and Dunfermline's a derby?
Well, just because it's just a derby of hate, pure hatred.
Because I was trying to figure it out, like geographically, why is this a derby?
It's not a local derby. It's just
a derby of pure hate. So Thistle favourites to win the game according to Bet365, 8-11 Thistle. The draw is 11-4, as is a Falkirk win at home at 11-4 as well. Andy, what you got for the score? What do you think the score is going to be?
I think. I don't know who's going to win the tie, who's going to qualify, but I'm thinking a 90-minute draw, because I think Falkirk here, they're pushing for League One this season. They've from what I can see from the outside, they're going through a bit of a resurgence at the minute. Things are starting to line up for them, and I think this is going to be a big test for them in terms of where they want to be, and I don't think they're going to lie down, because Falkirk might want to win this trophy a bit more than Thistle, given that Thistle have got to concentrate on getting into the Premiership. And I think, we played Cove at the weekend. We drew with Cove, and I would imagine Falkirk are probably a better side than Cove.
Hopefully this season we are. This season,
yeah, and even Queen's Park, who obviously have made a big improvement, but these are teams that we're playing now, and you would expect them to be on kind of a similar level to Falkirk. So I don't think it's going to be an easy game for Thistle, an away game as well. So I'd be surprised if Falkirk don't score. I'll say that.
Right. Okay.
What's the deal with this one? Does it go straight to pens, or is there's extra time? Is there?
I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. I think it might be straight to pens.
Right. But no, I don't think the Challenge Cup's ever been like that. I think it's just a straight. A straight tie. Yeah. Extra time.
We'll see. I'll have to look that up. So we'll see what the scores are. Ross, what you got?
Well, I think we need to remember we are the world's most successful Challenge Cup winning team.
Four times, absolutely.
Won it more times than anyone else. So, do you know? I agree with Andy. I think obviously our number one goal this year is to get out of the League One. That's a given. However, realistically, this is probably the only other chance we've got to win in a trophy. So I'd like to hope we kind of have a right good go at this. So I think it's a tough tie. I'm going to optimistically. I'm going to say 2-1 because I think we might concede, but I think
Anton Dowd will definitely score against.
Anton Dowd well, it sounds like Muirhead's not going to be there because Muirhead.
Oh yeah, no, he actually started in Saturday.
He's definitely going to score as well.
If Thistle get a penalty, I'm sure Muirhead will probably take it because he seems to be a bit of a penalty taker, doesn't he? So I'm going to say 2-1. I'll stick with 2-1.
Fair enough.
2-1 Falkirk.
I'm going to go 2-1 Burns. Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, are you still wrestling with the boots hung up now?
I wouldn't say they've hung up, but they're almost hung up.
Right, Andy, if you've not seen Andy wrestle, he obviously wrestles in Thistle colours as well normally.
Yep.
So he's always got the red, black and yellow there on the go as well. You got anything, Pug? You run wrestling experience Scotland, and you got a couple of shows coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, so we're in here on the 1st of October and we're up in Inverness on the 8th.
Some cards you've got together, by the way.
Yeah, we tried to really got some of the guys that we were able to, some of the guys that have recently kind of left the WWE, they're able to come and wrestle in this show. So excited to have some of them back. And Chris Bungard, who's a well-known kind of Scottish MMA fighter, quite successful. He's recently made the shift into wrestling. So he's wrestling now, and we managed to get him on the card as well in a kind of a special attraction in here against the current kind of wrestling world champion from ICW, Kes Evans. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Great kind of thing for the family to come and enjoy, and a bit of something for everyone really. And the Citadel's down in here is a really nice venue as well. It's always been a great place for us to go. So hoping to kind of keep that up, up the tradition.
Good. Well, hopefully you get a show in Falkirk soon, so we can all get along to that as well. Andy, aka Rudo Lightning, thanks for being on Falkirk Daft.
Thank you.
We say it every week, but we will say best of luck to Thistle at the weekend, but we don't really mean it.
No, it'll be a good game. I hope you enjoy it, and it'll be interesting to see what goes down.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Andy.
Thanks. Cheers, Andy.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So that's it for Falkirk Daft this week, and once again thank you very much to our sponsors this week, Forth Valley Dental Laboratory, business for over 30 years. For all your dental needs, remember they offer a full service dental laboratory covering aspects of both private and NHS dental laboratory work, and thanks to Stewart who sponsored the podcast this week. And if you want to sponsor us, please get in touch with us, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com, or you can drop us a DM on our socials. Well, if I don't know what after the Dunfermline match, how are you feeling after it, Ross? How are you feeling for the rest of the season? Because that's the marker, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm optimistic, very optimistic. We, if that's the best that League One is, if that's what we're saying, I know Airdrie will probably be about as well. But if we're saying that's the calibre, then I don't think we've got anything to fear. I'm very optimistic after that. But we need to be doing it more regularly. And not just turning up for that type of game. We need to be there every week.
Yeah, I think it was there. The point was made. 8 games now between now and the next game against Dunfermline in November. Let's go unbeaten in those 8.
100%.
Let's go unbeaten in those 8, and let's see where we are come the next game at the stadium. But yeah, I think you've got to look at that optimistically. Good performance, certainly the first half, and we'll take it from there, hopefully.
Absolutely.
And let's start with a win against Thistle on Friday night. We'll see.
That would give us a great boost as well if we did get that win, because it gives you a bit of confidence. Because obviously Andy's just said there that Thistle might not rest too many players, so it could be a really, really good test.
Yeah. We know what we're going to get from an Ian McCall side. They're going to come at us, they're going to attack us, and hopefully we can give them a good go, I think.
Absolutely. Just fingers crossed someone takes a shit in his shoe before the game, and that'll just annoy him.
Classic. Listen, thanks very much for listening to Falkirk Daft. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at Falkirk Daft. Please do review the podcast if you're an ex-player, because we've got a lot of ex-players reviewing the show as ever. Denon Lewis has written a review, Leo Fassan's written a review of the podcast, so please keep these coming in on Apple or Spotify, where you can drop us a review. Remember, if you want to jump into the Discord chat, we've got a Discord channel set up for all discussion Falkirk. You can do that, and the links are in the comments below and in the description. And check us out on YouTube, subscribe to our channel up there, like and subscribe, guys, and you can do that at Falkirk Daft on YouTube. Well, fingers crossed for Friday night. Like I say, be good to get a wee cup run. We'll see where we're at. Again, it's all about the league though, so 10 days.
It is all about the league, but we are the world's most successful Challenge Cup winners, so...
I like how you're starting with that. I like how you're going with that. So yeah, brilliant. So we'll see you down at the stadium on Friday, and until next time, Ross,
expect the unexpected, John.